feels like since 2018. And I went down a little nostalgia route yesterday. I was like, what was being said when we failed to make the World Cup in 2018? Alexi Lalas on Fox. You then have what's his face? Taylor Twellman with his epic rant on ESPN. And I'm like, wow. Because that whole summer, they came out with like USA was pushing out this youth movement. We've got these guys, yada, yada, yada. I think it was called like yes, Alex, we do need Danhausen to curse Paraguay because apparently Danhausen is giving the Knicks their first championship in like 50 years. I do not know what I watched last night. That was more on that later. We'll get into that later. But agreed, we need Danhausen. But it feels like everything since that moment on Trinidad in 2017 when we failed to make the World Cup, and then we get the bid in 2018, and we're like, okay, we don't actually have to qualify for that World Cup. We can just, get in, just all right. But it feels like this generation, it feels like this managerial appointment in Pochettino, it feels like Copa America when we had it a couple of years ago. It feels like all the players going overseas. It feels like everything has worked for this moment. It takes place tomorrow, I know. But since 2017, we have been on a movement to get to 2026. And I'm so happy that we have finally made its way to it, even though Sebastian Berhalter and Christian Roldan are somehow on this roster. I digress. But I am so hyped because it feels like the full circle moment is officially here since that moment. And I remember watching that game, and I was like, no way Omar Gonzalez just cleared it, and it somehow went backwards and into the net. Like, no way. Let me be frank. You guys have enough athletic players, but you're missing the technical ones. I would agree to an extent. I would agree for the most part, but I think Pulisic's not bad. I think Dest isn't bad. But yeah, no, I would agree. We do have some athletes for sure. We have the best athletes in the world.
I mean, to that point, our form and shape has looked better now than it's ever looked, at least I feel as if maybe in my lifetime, or at least going back to when I was younger, to when, things were a little bit different, 2010s, early 2000s. We are 8 years removed from the biggest disappointment in the history of our soccer federation, which is failing to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. And the sting of that, the collateral that came with that, was damaging at first, but it's also the only way that ego leaves and goes out the door and you figure out a way to win or you get better at what you do is by falling flat on your face. Like, that is the only way that you figure out how to reinvent yourself and get better results, is by utterly failing. And that's what 2018 was. It was an utter failure. And it felt like the death of that part of the USA soccer experience that really needed to go away, which was the ego, because we didn't deserve to have one at that time. And so 8 years of building off of that disappointment, 8 years of continuing to build these academies and really focusing on the academy level and development, 8 more years of spending the amount of money that we did. And now we're not just looking at this team going, hey, we have this really promising 18-year-old prospect, and Clint Dempsey. We're looking at this roster going, listen, we have good European talent across the board. And, we're a lot better in terms of shape, in terms of form, in terms of depth, all of those things. And you know what? FIFA had us as a top 15 team. And so now this is our opportunity to actually go out and prove that. Because we look at those rankings and they're not always the most accurate, but it is okay to admit as an American and as a U.S. men's national team fan that we are way further along than what we were. In 8 years past that moment, right, the most damning moment of all, which it is funny to relive what Alexi Lalas and all those guys said because, it's a piece of history. We're in a much different place now than what we were then.